All right, y'all. Welcome. We are back in action on the channel. It's been a while since I've gone live here, and it looks like behind the scenes and the inner workings of things, everything has changed. So I'm trying to get acclimated or reacclimated to some of the things that are going on behind the scenes here. But I hope that you all are doing well. Give you a couple minutes to get in here. We're going to be here for a good time and not a long time tonight. I got one quick story that I want to share with you on this evening. And I'm pretty sure if you've been paying attention to the news over the last couple of days, I'm pretty sure you've heard about this story. But it has troubled my spirit over the last few days, I must say. Hope everyone is doing well. Today is December the 15th. We got 10 days until Christmas. I hope that all your shopping is done, that you are in the spirit of the season and you understand the reason for the season. But don't get caught up out there in those crazy streets and the last minute shopping and whatnot. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I thank you for being here, just giving you a moment to get in the room and let's run with it, y'all. Check this out. I enjoy talking to the youth. It is one of my favorite things to do. And I took the long way in life in a lot of ways. I was a young father, a young husband, and I learned a lot at a young age because of my circumstance, because of choices that I made as a young man. So I enjoy the fact that I can take my personal experience and share it with the youth and try to give them the cheat code, y'all. The shortcut into being better people, being better faster. Can I say it that way? Let me shout out y'all for being in here. I thank y'all for showing up tonight. I'm just talking a little piece. Thank you, Vivian Malloy, for being here, and Troy Tatum for being in the building. Desiree Lopez in the building. Denise Williams in the building, and our sister, our moderator, our friend, Urban Southern Cookie in the house. Devonna Thompson, thank you for being here. She says, good evening. Good evening, sis. Thank you for being here and hanging out with us. So, y'all, one of the things I enjoy doing is talking with young men in particular and sharing my story because I think that it's helpful in today's society where they are facing so much. And I know y'all, look, we older. A lot of y'all that follow me, a lot of people who follow me are older than me, old enough to be my parents, in fact. So we can get a little jaded in our old age and forget what it's like to be young. But since I've had so many vivid youthful experiences, I enjoy sharing them with young people and trying to guide them along the right path and the path that will lead them to success faster than I found it. I'm trying to give you the cheat code and allow you to hop over some of the potholes that I fell into. Well, it don't always work. My experience is not always the best example, but I am never short of examples that I can pull from. Why? Because there's always a man somewhere willing to crash out, willing to make a mistake. Ginger Brew in the building. Thank you for being here. Julie Zug in the building. Thank you for being here. There's always a man willing to make a mistake that I can share with young men and say, hey, a smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So, how about we do this? Not only can you learn from my personal mistakes, but let's give you some examples to glean from. Where you can look at bruh over there and how he fell and how he stumbled and how he made a mistake and how he crashed out and how he fumbled the bag, even. Diatmo, thank you for being here. Can we glean from others? Can we do that? Can you learn from me so that you don't make some of the same mistakes I made? Can we get together and look at bruh over there and learn from him and his mistakes so we don't have to make those same mistakes? Well, y'all, we got a new example here that you probably heard of in the last few days. It took me a while to get to it, but like I said, I ain't been on here live in a minute, but it feels good to be back before y'all, back with y'all, back communing with y'all and conversating. I love that y'all active in the chat. Thank you for being here on this evening. We're going to talk about a story. Y'all know you might not know this because I ain't really shared it on this channel, but I love college football, y'all. And we are to the end of the college football season, going into the college playoffs. My team didn't make it. I ain't even gonna share with you what my team is, but my team didn't make it. But I am an alum of Indiana University, and they made it. So I can claim a little piece of victory in that. And on top of that, our quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, won a Heisman Trophy the other night. I was pretty proud. I didn't have my IU beanie cap or IU sweatshirt on, but I said, look at IU doing that thing. Got a whole Heisman, the first in IU history. Proud alum moment. But y'all, here we are with a college coach of one of the biggest universities, not only in the Big Ten, but in the country. Yeah, a rival of IU, my alma mater. Yeah, okay. Yeah, they kind of hate Michigan down there. I spent years of my life down in Bloomington, Indiana, and I found out that it was a whole rivalry situation. And this brother found his way. Gingeru said, you probably an alum of numerous universities. Yes, Gingeru, that's true. That's true. Devonta Thompson said, talk about it. I'm going to talk a little piece about it. Okay. Thank you for putting a battery in my back because it took me a few days to talk about it because I didn't really want to address it because I don't like to pile on situations like this. When you see a brother crashing out, now understand the history of Michigan football. You had Jim Harbaugh, who was there for a length of time, did well, but he got the call. And I understand from the backstory is that things were going awry. Things were not going so well in the back end of Michigan football. So he took the first call he could get to go back to the NFL, and he's okay there. He's doing well. But when he left Michigan, it wasn't in the best shape, according to what I've heard in recent days. But he had an assistant coach, an offensive coordinator, one Sharon Moore, who was left in charge, the first Black head coach in Michigan history, came up through the ranks, a player himself, did well as a coach, had a few accolades under Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh left to put him in charge, and he took over the team. And y'all, turns out that this brother, Major Sean, is in the building. Thank you for being here. Doc Shred in the building, tuned in from Maui. Man, I love Hawaii so much. Thank you for being here. Let's see. One Cypherus. One Cypherus. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you tuning in. This brother took over the team, y'all, after Harbaugh left. And because he was the first blackity black head coach in Michigan history, a lot of people had a lot of hopes for him to be successful. A lot of people living vicariously through his experience. Y'all heard me say in the beginning, I like to share my experience with the young so that they can learn from me. Well, we're going to learn from this man tonight because he had a lot of lessons that he offered for us, not only us, but for the youth. I hope y'all share this story with some young man in your life that can learn from it because, y'all, Not only was he successful in his coaching endeavors, and we appreciate that, but we going to learn from his mistakes because the one thing that I stress, maybe more than anything else, when I get in the ear of your sons, when I talk to your sons in particular, the one thing I try to stress to them is first of all, don't be no emotional man. Control your emotions. I see so many internet videos, y'all. I live on the internet because this is my job. So I see so many videos and so much content come across my timeline where people just cutting up in public, whether they in Walmart or in a restaurant or doing wherever they are. People don't seem to be able to control their emotions too good anymore. I don't know whether they walking around intoxicated, inebriated. I don't know what's going on with the American populace. But they seem to be angry and emotional, overly so. So where they're getting in confrontations and fights, and folks is, well, I got to be careful how I say things on them folks' platform, but people are unaliving each other on a daily basis, just acting crazy. Seemingly, they have lost their minds. Well, I use that as an example as well, because I need your sons and your daughters, sons in particular, I need them to learn how to control their emotions. Anger is an emotion. Happiness is an emotion. Sadness is an emotion. Whatever emotion they are going through, I need them to know that they can control it, they can handle it, and whatever it is, they can thrive in it, whether it's high up or low down. Learn to control your emotions. Well, in that endeavor, I often talk about fasting because fasting, and I think it's so important because it is a denial of self. You have a situation where your body is craving a certain thing, it's a natural physical craving. You need food to live. You need it to survive. You need it to thrive. So, how can it be that you deny your physical longings and urges to eat? Well, it teaches you discipline. And it also teaches you that the mind is stronger, the spirit is stronger than the physical body. We are not, y'all see, this is where we get it crossed up so many times. We think, and this is where secularism comes into our lives. We tend to think that we are physical beings that happen to have a spirit. We just happen to have a spirit attached to our bodies. That is incorrect. That is bass backwards. That is wrong. And I teach the young to try to reverse that understanding to say we are spiritual beings first and foremost. And I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just riffing tonight. I'm not tuned in, tapped in with what y'all are even saying here. But I'm gonna get to the chat in a second. I appreciate y'all for being here and rocking out with me. But the truth of the matter is, Major Shine, is that we are spiritual beings who happen to have a physical body, a physical presentation, a physical persona in our short time here on earth. We are spirit first. So, how is it being spirit first, being spirit led? How is it that so many brothers happen to allow? See, you got to allow it, you got to permit it. How is it that we allow our physical bodies and physical urges to control our decision making? Somebody answer that in the chat because I ain't found an answer yet. I've talked to thousands of young men. We have these conversations, and I ain't came across an answer that I'm satisfied with yet. If we are spiritual beings first, how is it that so many times I'm sorry, if we are spiritual beings first, how is it that so many times our physical being takes over and has us crashing out in so many examples? Y'all got a video that I want to share with you tonight. Ginger says wrong spirit controlling them. Well, I can't disagree with that. Wrong spirit controlling them. I like that, Ginger. So here we go, y'all. We are going to lean on another content creator tonight to share a little bit with us and see if we can glean something from his analysis. One O'Shea Duke Jackson, popular YouTuber. In certain respects, I certainly follow his content and get a lot from him from time to time. And I'm going to share this video with you and see if we can get something from this. I'm going to be in your way and out your way, y'all. I appreciate you rocking out with me tonight. Let's see what we can get from this. There we go, y'all.
On September 22nd, 2022, Ime Udoka was suspended by the Boston Celtics for the entire 2022-2023 NBA season after violating team policies. Now, it's important to know the year right before this, he took his team to the NBA Finals, and at the time, he was one of the most popular coaches in the league. But as you know, he got fired. He would eventually get hired by the Houston Rockets, and he would actually address these claims.
As you reflect on what happened in Boston, do you feel like the Celtics were justified in the actions that they took against you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my part in it was to take ownership and accountability for my part. You know, they had a choice to make a decision, and they went that route. And my thing was own up to it, take responsibility, and you know, I served the suspension and had to own it, honestly. So, same thing I'll preach to the guys. I can't sit here and not take accountability myself. So it was their right to go about it however they wanted to, and that's the choice they took.
Later on in 2023, another black coach by the name of Mel Tucker, who was on a 10-year, $95 million contract with the Michigan State Spartans. Well,
Michigan State fired head coach Mel Tucker today for inappropriate conduct. Tucker was accused of sexual harassment during a phone call with a prominent driver and activist that he had hired to speak to his team. The university terminating what's left of the 10-year, $95 million contract that Tucker signed less than 2 years ago.
Now, in the Ime Udoka case, he lost his job over sleeping with a white woman, despite being married to Nia Long. And Mel Tucker, who has a black wife, stop the show. She actually filed for divorce. He lost his job behind the white lady. And you would think that black men would get the hint, right? Sharon Moore, a young brother from Kansas who was an offensive lineman, went to the University of Oklahoma, and he worked his way up through the coaching ranks. He coached tight ends at Central Michigan. He then moved to Michigan, became the offensive line and co-offensive coordinator, became the offensive coordinator. He would be an important reason as to why Michigan would win their national title in 2024. Once Jim Harbaugh went back to the NFL with the LA Chargers, Sharon Moore would get an opportunity to become the head coach. But it was not without consequence.
They were going to get rid of him whether he had success or not. But the moment that they started losing games, Dave Portnoy and the Michigan Donors were going to run him out of town. Sharon Moore now is coming off of a loss to Oklahoma. He has to sit out for 2 weeks while he serves a suspension on behalf of Jim Harbaugh. And Michigan's going to lose 2 more games because they're not even able to practice, speak to, or talk to the head coach of the football team.
See, here is something that we got to understand. Sharon Moore and Harbaugh, they were in some kind of scandal with hand-stealing gestures from other teams. And it was a big deal. Sharon Moore served some suspensions. Jim Harbaugh served some suspensions. And Harbaugh was kind of under like a 10-year suspension where like any team in college football that hired him, it would be difficult for them to do it. Mel Tucker's under the same situation right now. So Harbaugh just, for the most part, couldn't stay in college football. And so Sharon Moore was kind of that last tree that was kind of looming from the Harbaugh regime, right? And so people thought that he was going to lose his job anyway, but really that wasn't the case. I mean, he had the rebuild team. He went 8-5 in Michigan 2024. This year he's 7-3. They lost to Ohio State, but it was competitive, and they have a young team. So I mean, I think he's performing pretty good. He's 16-8 as a head coach at Michigan. But then there was a rumor that was coming out earlier this month.
He has a type. He has a type.
That's part of the reporting. That's his type. I'm sorry, but it's when I'm up to my fifth woman I've talked to, and they're all between the ages of 25 to 38, 39, and they're all skinny blonde white women. He has a type, and that he's allowed to have a type, but it's certainly unbecoming to be trying to meet up for dinner with various. Have I said too much?
No. Oh no.
Well, let's just say I've seen some of these exchanges personally, and
I think you're channeling your inside voice now, Justin. I think that's what's going on.
Well, I can be a little more informal here, but and it's funny because this is one of the callbacks I'm waiting on. Could be any minute, it could be an hour, I don't know, because Michigan they're well aware. Ward Manuel has had multiple conversations with his team up there, athletic director at University of Michigan today. They're very aware of what's going on. They've known what's going on for years with this guy, that's part of the reporting. If you've known about this stuff, why is this guy even here?
That rumor would actually be true. Come to find out, your boy Sharon Moore had been sleeping or at least trying to date multiple white women, around U of M. And the most important one is this lady, Paige Shiver. Okay. Paige Shiver joined the University of Michigan program in November 2021. She was working as an on-campus recruiting and football operations coordinator on then Jim Harbaugh's staff. All right. She was then promoted to her current role as executive to the head coach in February 2024, shortly after Sharon Moore took over the University of Michigan program. This is important to know. Sharon Moore is married to a white woman by the name of Kelly Moore. They have been married since 2015. So yes, he was married. All right. Now, in the case of the other guys, Mel Tucker and Ime Udoka, both of them were in relationships with black women. But in the case of Sharon Moore, he already had a wife, a white wife. And that's why the last clip said he has his preferences. Well, allegedly, he got this lady pregnant, Paige Shiver. They found out that he was sleeping with her. And then guess what? They fired him. Now, after he was fired, allegedly, he broke into that lady's house and there was some other stuff. I'm not even going to deal with that. I'm not even concerned with it. All right. That's for another day. That's not my point of the video. The idea is this man was getting paid $6.1 million a year. The rest of his contract is now voided. He's going to lose that money. Let's look at the reasons that a University of Michigan coach could lose their employment. The university has the right to terminate the employment of the head coach for cause in the event of any of the following. 1, failure of the head coach in material respect to perform the services required of him under this agreement. Conviction of the head coach of any criminal offense involving fraud, conviction of any felony, which he didn't do. All right. Conduct of the head coach which offends against public decency or morality, as shall be determined by standards prevailing in the community, or which results in the reasonable determination of the university could result in material injury to the reputation, interests, or obligations of the university or program. Misconduct as defined in sections 1 and 2A of University of Michigan standard practice. All right. And you go to C, him messing with Paige, the staffer. This is public decency or morality. All right. So this does create material injury to the reputation or the interests or obligations of the university of the program. All right. Now, I know some people are going to talk about this and say that this is racist. This is what it is. Well, to be honest, a lot of coaches have faced this. Bobby Petrino, for example, Arkansas faced.
Y'all, we don't have to go no further, do we? I think y'all get where this is going. And like I said, plenty of y'all have heard of this story before tonight. This happened several days ago where he got fired, but this thing has been brewing over a couple years now, allegedly. It's been reported that people have known about this for a couple years, and the staffer was given a promotion and a raise. He doubled her salary, y'all. She's making 40 some $1,000 a year. He doubled it. She's making $90,000 a year as an assistant to the head coach. And not only did he crash out for betraying his family, this man got a wife and 3 children, reportedly. Beautiful daughters who didn't ask for a dirtbag daddy, who didn't ask for a blackety black man who has an affinity for whitey white women, who can't control his little deacon to save his life. Y'all, it has since come out, since he has been booked and arraigned and set free. It has since come out that this dude been following all kind of Instagram internet skanks. Ginger Roo says, so dumb and reckless, so careless. Ginger Roo, this man has been fired. He ain't got no severance. He ain't got no golden parachute. He has lost $13 million reportedly because of this. And I know them beautiful babies are living behind the gate somewhere. I hope you paid it off. You was making over $6 million a year. I hope you paid it off. I hope you can afford to stay there and maintain that lifestyle. Because them little babies who didn't ask to be here, didn't ask to have a father who was an idiot, a degenerate, a low-down dirtbag, them kids are going to suffer behind your actions and what you are setting up as your legacy. This man ain't even 40 years old. Y'all, this is terrible. Because this man could not do the one thing that I talk to your sons about all the time. And this is why I like Coach Prime, head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. Neon Dion is what I grew up knowing him as. But every time he gets his team in a circumstance, win or lose, sometimes he coach them hard, sometimes he coach them soft, but he always ends his after-game lecture and he says, no means no. He encourages these young men to behave, be gentlemen. He encourages them to pray, and sometimes he pray with them. But if you can't control your little deacon, you young man, now see, we ain't talking about color. We talking about whitey white, blackety black, and everything in between. Your color don't matter. Your gender is more important in this because you got a little deacon that's going to talk to you in those quiet moments. Try to get you to believe that the physical is more important than the spiritual. Try to get you to believe that your body is leading the way and not your spirit. Your physical needs are more important than your spiritual attunement. No, that ain't true. That is not the case. So what is really controlling that little deacon and getting it to talk that way, y'all? I'm trying to be a little cryptic. Some of y'all might have kids in the room. I was going to go deeper into this and get real scientific for y'all and introduce y'all to Dr. Rachel so she could really put it on y'all in a scientific medical terminological way so you can understand the physiological needs of a man and how they must be overcome by the spirit. The spirit is more important than the physical. And that is where fasting becomes important because it teaches you just that. When your body desires things, when your body requests things, and when that request turns into a demand and your body demands things of you, how will you react? How will you respond? Are you subject to the physical? Or are you in control of the physical? Our sister Urban Southern Cookies. He's a crash out dummy. Urban Southern Cookie, have you ever seen? Well, O'Shea Duke Jackson gave us some examples in the front of, of some other crash out dummies, but have you ever seen anybody fumble a bag this bad? And I've seen instances like the couple of brothers that O'Shea introduced in the front, and you say, okay, well, they were attached to black women, blackety black women they were attached to, but they had an affinity for something else. And you say, okay, well, you try to wrap your brain around it and say, okay, well, maybe he had a desire for something different, but why commit to something if you have a true deep desire for something else? That is dirtbag behavior. That is devilish demonic behavior. That tells me that you are a spirit that is run amok and out of control, because you are allowing the physical to control the spiritual. Boy, you got it bass backwards. Happy Mac said that part. Desiree Lopez, look, it's the little deacon. Sometimes you got to put that deacon in its place. You got to sit him down and have a talk. If you are the pastor of this earthly journey, you are the bishop of your physical being, you got to sit that little deacon down and say, look here, deacon, you ain't running nothing around here. But how can you exercise that kind of authority if you don't practice that kind of authority? This dude, looking into his background, and y'all, I'm already over my time. I've been on here longer than I thought I would be. I just wanted to tap in with y'all tonight. I'll come back on tomorrow. We'll talk about something else. But this dude has irked my nerves, my reserve nerve, that one that you hide way back there that can't nobody get to. This story has bothered me because this is such a vivid example of a crash out dummy, in the words of Urban Southern Cookie. And these things are so avoidable. And that's the thing that gets me, because they're so avoidable and yet so common. You can find so many stories of folks who've crashed out in similar situations. And you say, what is going on that you can't control yourself, sir? You're a man out of control. You're an emotional man that is following your primal urges. You ain't no jungle animal. You're a human being with, supposedly, you're supposed to have discernment. Where is it? I don't see it. You're crashing out. You're greedy. Your wife wasn't enough. Them beautiful babies wasn't enough. Head coach wasn't enough. Multiple millions of dollars a year wasn't enough. Greed took over. Your sinful nature took over. This is what happens, y'all, when you disconnect from God and you ain't got no spiritual connection. You fall for the physical and you think you think you're doing well. You think you balling out. You think this is the goal? Man, I have these conversations with y'all kids and I enjoy hearing from them. I ain't even gonna tell you what they say sometimes because it's a little crazy, but I understand they're young, they're immature, they got a lot to learn. But this man right here got way more experience than your young son, your teenager. This man ain't no teenager. This is a grown man with a wife and kids going out there intentionally being a dog. Even more to the story has come out since his arraignment and release. No, he is not an example. See, we in the community, we push people up like this and we hold them up on a platform and say, hey, he's the first blackity black so-and-so. She's the first blackity black so-and-so. Let's put them on a pedestal just because they the first blackity black. Man, don't nobody care about that. Dirty dogs come in every color, in every shade. Demons show up in every ethnicity. Just so happens that this time it was a blackity black man, and I'm going to share this story with all of your sons because I want them to see what a crash out dummy looks like. I want them to know that if they find themselves in a circumstance that looks similar to this, that they have a template that they can look to and say, I ain't going that route. Because I remember Sharon Moore was something like that. The situation that I'm finding myself in right now look a lot like Sharon Moore. Maybe I need to get out of here. Maybe I need to exit stage left. This is not looking right. It's not feeling right. It looks similar to Sharon Moore. And I know how bad he crashed out. He lost the millions. I might lose my freedom. I might lose my paycheck. I might lose my little assets. Ain't nowhere near what he lost, but the circumstance and the facts are similar. Let me make a smart decision based on his mistake. See, I started out this live, y'all, and I told you that a smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. We're going to stand on that. We're going to stand by that, and we're going to teach that every time I can get in the ear of your sons. Because I want them to know this right here is not the way to go. And I saw a lot of people opining on this that were saddened by this circumstance. One popular YouTuber even cried. And I felt bad for him because he said, as tears streamed down his face, he said, I don't even know this dude. But he was so sad because he was impacted. He said, I don't know if he realizes the impact that this will have on the community as a whole. He said, I hope he never realizes it, because if he does, if he ever comes to the understanding of the detriment that he has had on the blackity black community, he'll never be able to get over it. Well, let me tell you something. Based on his choices, based on his affiliations, based on his actions, I don't think he care anything about your community. I don't even know that he see himself as the blackity black. Y'all know some folks look at themselves in the mirror and they are not self-aware. They see something different. Y'all ever seen them T's, them alphabet folks who look at themselves in the mirror and they see something different and you say, man, you're a whole man. What are you doing? That's not how he see himself. Well, that's a psychological issue. That's a spiritual demonic issue going on. You look in the mirror and you see something different than what the mirror is showing you. Yeah, some deeper issues there that we might need to delve into on a future live. We ain't going there tonight, but it's deep. Spiritually, psychologically, it's deep. I saw a story just the other day of a woman who looked at herself in the mirror and obviously didn't like what she saw, to the extent that she got so many surgeries, plastic surgeries, cosmetic surgeries. She got so many lip injections that she could no longer close her mouth. Breast implants so big that they were so abnormal that they were causing her health issues. Almost went blind because she tattooed her eyeball. Tattoos all over her body. In the last few years, she started blacking them out and just having black skin. That spirit of self-hatred, that demonic influence that makes you hate what you see. that makes you disconnect from who you are. Well, y'all, she posted on her social media and said, for y'all who I'm not in contact with, if I don't talk to you, if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. She then allegedly, reportedly jumped off the balcony of a ninth floor hotel room. She met her demise. In that last post where she said, good afternoon, good evening, good night, she posted a picture of her as a child with no tattoos, no embellishments, no cosmetic surgery. The person she used to be before the devil crept in her mind and took over, causing her to destroy herself physically. After the devil had already destroyed her mind, it manifested on the outside and she eventually took her own life. We're trying to get to your children. We're trying to get to the youth before they get to that point. We're trying to be a buffer between them and the world. Can we stand in the gap, y'all? Can we make a commitment to just stand in the gap and try to say, hey, whoa, 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 before you going out there, you little church boy, you little church girl, before you step on out there and destroy yourself, can we make a commitment, y'all, to just try to stand in the gap and help somebody? Because many of y'all are like me. Y'all didn't grow up with the internet. We older than that. Had we grown up with the internet, we'd be in a whole mess, Urban Southern Cookie. Had we grown up with the internet, we'd be a whole problem right now. Thank you for your support. She says that lust demon is vicious and egregious. He made a choice and not a mistake. That part. I agree with that 100%. It was a choice because allegedly, reportedly, he made that choice over and over and over. Ended up getting a staffer pregnant. And they say, according to reports I've seen, that he door dashed Plan B pills to his office on the Michigan campus. And I said, well, if they were going to do something like that and try to sweep it under the rug before anybody found out about it, why wouldn't she be in charge of acquiring the Plan B situation? Why does he have to DoorDash Plan B to the Michigan office? That sounds interesting to me. You know what I think? And I don't know. This is just me speculating on the situation. I think the bruh got her pregnant. She said, no, I'm not getting rid of it. And bro went about getting the Plan B himself. I think this blackety black monkey demon was going to try to slip her a Mickey. Was going to try to drop something in her Avion water. Here, drink this. LeBron, not James, said, ain't easy to avoid when you have options. Some things you got to work at. LeBron, not James. And it's interesting that you are called LeBron, not James, because I promise you that LeBron James had to work at being great in so many aspects. Sharon Moore is an athlete himself. I'm sure he had to work at being great as an athlete. So they are not disassociated with hard work, dedication, focus, all of those attributes that make you a great athlete. Those are the same things you can take into other facets of life and be great in other areas. I need you to take control of that little deacon the same way you take control of them dumbbells when you hoist them up. The same way you take control of that barbell when you do those squats. I need you to take control. LeBron, not James. Don't be a victim. Be a victor. If you're going to be victorious in this life, you better practice. And that practice comes with fasting and prayer. How you going to deny your body physically when it start cutting up and you ain't never denied your body before? You ain't going to know how to react. But if you have been fasting, you know that when your body get to cutting up, your mind is stronger, your spirit is stronger. You can say, ha, peace be still. We ain't doing that. You ain't running nothing, little deacon. Sit down somewhere. For some of y'all, it's easier said than done. And I'm going to be respectful tonight. We're not even going to go into it too hard. Maybe we'll revisit this and talk about it a little deeper, go into it a little harder. Because it deserves an in-depth exploration the way that I give it to your sons. I'm leery about breaking it down too much on them folks' platform because I'm already being punished in this space. But I need y'all to hear my spirit, just a little piece tonight. Because you might have someone in your life that you can share this story with that might be facing a crash out situation. It ain't got to be $6 million a year. You could be on your regular schmegular job and be facing something with the office secretary. This man took advantage of his position on that job as an employee of the University of Michigan. And reportedly, yeah, he's been fired, but she hasn't. You know why? Because she gonna get that bread. They trying to coax her into not suing the university because this blackety black dummy has the authority over this staffer. He used that authority to have his way, and now he is charged, y'all. Let me get to this before I close. He is charged with multiple misdemeanors and a felony, third-degree felony of home invasion, because he showed up at her house talking about, my blood is on your hands, talking about he gonna kill himself. Boy, you ain't gonna kill yourself. You ain't suicidal. You embarrassed. You ain't suicidal. You feel dumb. And you should, because you are. No, you ain't suicidal at all. You are unintelligent. And I urge every blackety black man out there on platforms such as this one here, use this Negro as an example. So perhaps at his expense, we can dissuade other young brothers from making the same or similar mistakes as this. I know O'Shea tried to make a big deal of black man, white woman. We don't care. Blackity black, whitey white, anything in between. We don't care about that. The principle is bigger than color. It is about your ability to control your physical urges and not succumb to your devilish intuition. That's what we're trying to get across. That's the message for tonight, y'all. And if this blackity black dum-dum gotta be the poster child that we use to tar and feather through the streets in order to help correct a future generation so that they don't fall into the same traps and pitfalls as this idiot, well then, I'm happy to drag him. Let him be the sacrifice for the community, for the betterment of the people. I hope his wife finds peace. I hope his children live a happy life. I hope he finds God and becomes a better person. But ain't none of that in my hands. Ain't none of that in my control. Ain't none of it under my purview at all. I'm just out here on the West Coast, thousands of miles away from this whole story. sitting here complaining about stuff on the internet. But if the young people don't learn, I hope you learn. And if you learn, I hope you pay it forward and pass it on. This dude is an idiot. He fumbled the bag in a classic story of a crash out dummy. Thank you for that one, Urban Southern Cookie. Crash out dummy, y'all. That's the word for the night. And I thank y'all for being here tonight. I thank y'all for supporting the stream, rocking out with your boy, and spending some time. I've been on here longer than I thought I would be. But I think we've covered everything we needed to cover on Sharon Moore. He is not going to be coaching at a major university for a long, long time, if ever again. Sometimes people got to learn the hard way. I was going to play a clip of Shannon Sharp, who had opined on this because he went through a similar situation and he had a heartfelt appeal, an opinion on this story because he'd been through it, crashed out too. NFL Hall of Famer, gold jacket, the whole nine, crashed out too, following your little deacon. And if I just be real in the way that I say it to your sons, well, ever since the creation of man, we've seen these types of situations where that little deacon gets you into some trouble. We know what it is, y'all. Some of the strongest men in the history of the earth have fallen victim to those same urges. Yep. Adam. Yep. Samson. Yep. King David. Yep. We know the stories. Y'all, take this story here of Sharon Moore and pass it on. Share it with someone who needs to see it vividly and understand that little deacon, if uncontrolled, can ruin your life. That thing that gives life can ruin life if not kept in check. That's it for tonight, y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for rocking out. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and share the live with someone else who might benefit from the information. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And as always, y'all, I will see you on the next one.